Hello, everybody. So, the following podcast contains references to substances and activities that may or may not be illegal in your area. I hope it's going to be clear from the podcast itself, but just as a bit of a legal disclaimer, I would like to reiterate it here that at the Nerve Guys, we do not endorse or condone the taking of illegal substances, nor the participating in illegal activities. Any questions about the podcast, feel free to shoot me a message on our Instagram, but otherwise, enjoy. Welcome to the Nerve Guys podcast, where we discuss movement and well-being from the brain's point of view. Hosted by Gareth Kelly and James McCambridge, this week's episode is sponsored by the Neuroband, a wearable vision and balance training tool designed to develop posture, focus, and flow. More info at the end of the episode. So, psychedelics are starting to get popular. It's pretty much every week when I'm speaking to people, one person's going to ask what my opinion is on, whether they should try out usually some kind of a recreational drug in order to improve, neural plasticity or get rid of their anxiety or just, rewire the brain in some way or another. And I've always got an answer for them. And I think my answer is on the weird side. So we're going to talk about it today. So the question is, if you have some kind of issue you want to fix with your brain, insert whatever issue that you've heard, psychedelics or, other recreational drugs too, you can fill all of these under the same hat. Is it something that is worth exploring in your recovery journey or to improve your skills and abilities or whatever you want to do? So I've got the rather weird opinion of saying that, yes, I actually think it's kind of exciting that people are starting to do research in this area right now, and that these things that for a long time loads of people were experimenting with and having reporting really great improvements, whether it's addiction, anxiety, their social relationships, their motivation, their ability to just get their shit together. And for a long time that was, I guess, just closed off, as something that was completely illegal. You weren't allowed to really do a whole lot of research on it. You weren't allowed to, you know, have any rigorous amount of testing like you might need to verify or validate, just to test all the claims that people were making. So I do think that that's really exciting, and I think it's really cool that at some point we might be able to say more convincingly, this is doing one thing or another. And in fact, I believe with some of these, actually, they might already be there. So there might already be a lot of research saying, yeah, actually, these things can be really great for your mental health, for your physical health, for X, Y, and Z. However, even though I believe that, I do not recommend to people that they really look into it. So today I'll talk about why I don't think you should probably be hoping for that. I don't think you should be counting on that, because I think there are a lot more problems with this kind of thing than most people realize. And I think there are also problems with how we engage with that kind of stuff as well. So number one, let's talk about what happens when, when I have these conversations. What is it most of the time that people are really saying to me? And it kind of falls into two categories. One category of people is saying to me, I've heard that this will just solve all of my problems. So do you recommend, do you think that I should do this? Because I'm tired, man. I'm tired of putting in the work. I'm tired of trying things and not having them work. I just kind of want to hand my responsibility for my recovery over to something else. And here's this like fun little thing that, has been illegal for so long that, people have been doing it and reporting it's super great. But we just don't have the conclusive truth. Uh, and that really does seem to happen a lot where it's like that. Should I just try this? Maybe the only reason I haven't got better is because I didn't try this one thing. And for some reason, we all seem to be way more skeptical about medications that your doctor might prescribe to you. When people say that has been tested, so we know what the side effects are, then we go, oh yeah, but we know what the side effects are. That doesn't sound good. Whereas with these other things, when there's less testing done, people kind of go like, oh yeah, no, it can only be good. I'd rather have this manufactured synthetic drug over this one because I've got more information available to me on exactly what is going to happen with this one, and that's not to mention if you are somewhere where these kind of things actually aren't still legal, all of the problems with something that is illegal and unregulated, and you might not be getting the thing that you actually thought that you were, and all of that. So basically, this idea of like maybe I just didn't try this one thing as an approach almost always never works. The really harsh truth of like those difficult problems that you face, especially those difficult psychological ones that are affecting your mindset, is that you need to do the work, but you also need to frame the work in the correct way. So if you're not thinking about the problem properly, possibly the reason that it feels like you're just working and working and working and not getting anywhere with it, you're not getting the results that you want, is that you're just doing the wrong thing. Because the way that you're thinking about it is slightly flawed. So with chronic pain, one of the big things that comes up is that idea of acceptance. Like, can you just sit with the fact that this is an issue that you've got, and that you could still live a full life, even if you knew you were never going to be able to get rid of this. You could just accept that this is a part of you right now. When you get over it, you're never going to be the same person that you were before. You're going to be a different person, even if you can reverse everything exactly the way that it was, and you get to the next stage. And the next stage looks exactly like how it did before. You still are the person who had that experience, so it's just never going to be the same. It's never going to change. So sometimes it's self-acceptance. Sometimes it literally is just looking at the problem the wrong way around. So, I'm not motivated, maybe is because I'm doing stuff that doesn't motivate me. People often wonder why aren't they motivated to go to their job. And well, if your job sucks and it's boring and it gives you all the stress, then yeah, you're not supposed to be motivated for that. So actually, we need to be reframing what would make you motivated. Is it having a little counter that shows you how much you're earning every single minute, and a goal like something you're saving up for that actually gets you closer to that? Or is it thinking what ways can you be useful in the job, rather than thinking about all the things that are annoying you? It's just figuring out what you need to do to reframe the mindset to be able to tolerate those kind of things. Um, and so when it comes to like, should I just try this? Should I just try this? When I'm just looking for the next therapy and the next treatment, and in this case, like recreational drugs or something that you've read about and you've heard people say, oh yeah, this really solved the problem for me. Um, Regardless of what you're going to do, it's worth bearing in mind that nothing solves the problem for you. You still have to solve the problem. Um, and it takes a long time sometimes to realize that. Like you have to try 20 different things going, oh, this is just going to fix my thing. And it just doesn't. So that's kind of number one. That's the big one why a lot of the time I would say is probably not going to be as good as you think to try this one thing if you know you're probably not the one specific case where only this one illegal thing that you're not supposed to take or you're not supposed to try is the one thing that can fix you. Almost all the time, especially when it comes to your brain, there's about 6,000 different things that can be helpful for you, and their effectiveness might be varied, but also you can stack a bunch of them together. You can stack a bunch of them on top of each other. You'll always be able to find another thing that can solve a particular problem. It's very, very rare that your circumstances align, that there's only one specific thing and one specific way that you can be fixed or healed. Not saying that we know all of them for every specific problem yet, but it would be really surprising to find, a situation where going down that route is the only option that you can take where things will actually be helpful and work. Then the second camp of people that tend to be asking me that, and usually you get this kind of asked in a different way. It's usually never with that first kind of camp, they'll come with you with like all the research, and they'll be kind of saying, I've read that this does this and this and this, and that's exactly the problems that I'm dealing with. And that's that kind of thing of like, actually you've done a lot of research, you've done a lot of reading into it, you are doing the work in terms of like trying to find a solution to your problem. You just maybe gone around it the wrong way. Instead of looking for the specific thing you're trying to fix, you heard, oh, this might be good, and then you start researching that over and over again, forgetting that actually that's just one solution out of many. And if you want to stay on track with sorting your pain or your mindset or whatever out, you probably need to stay on track with the thing that you're trying to sort out, not looking for a long time through one specific treatment. There's like a certain point where you start reading about this thing, and then you go, this is great, let's look more and more and more. And then you start singing the praises of something that you haven't even tried yet because you've just read so much about it. Actually, it's a much bigger picture, and it's better to stay focused on the issue you want to solve, because usually you'll find there's a cheaper alternative, there's a easier to implement alternative, there's something else that you could be trying first that isn't one of these kind of wacky things. So that's camp one. Camp two, usually this doesn't get, they don't come in with like the research about it. Usually it's like end of the session, and then they'll be like, oh, by the way, do you happen to have any thoughts about this? And a lot of the time, I don't know for sure, but I get the feeling that these is sometimes people who actually would rather really just be given an excuse to go try something uh, that they wouldn't otherwise have tried. So like they know this is something that they probably shouldn't be doing. They know it's something that they probably shouldn't be taking. Um, And when you're left to your own faculties, you're like, yeah, I know this is stupid. I know I shouldn't really be experimenting recreationally with these kinds of things. However, if I can find one of my own problems and issues that I can merge together with it, maybe then it makes it a sensible choice. And so it seems in these circumstances like people actually really just want to try the thing, but then they're creating the logical excuse. So, if you ever get found out, if you ever get caught, you'll be able to say, "Oh no, no, it's just for my anxiety. It's just for this." And for me, that's a major red flag. So I won't. In this podcast, this isn't the time to share my thoughts or opinions on what things should be legal or illegal. But one thing that I would be very clear on is if you're going to go and try and do something anyway, don't create an ulterior excuse for why you're going to do that, because that is literally the beginning of giving yourself like a crutch. So giving yourself some kind of hook where you go like, no, 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 it's fine, it's not a problem, it's for this thing, it's helping me with this thing. And what you find is like over time you start to go down the route of these things might very visibly be not working out well for you. You might get lucky, maybe it is actually going to be super helpful, and then you go, oh cool, glad I tried that, let's part ways. But when you start going down those lines of like, I need this because it does this, sometimes it's really tricky to pick those two things apart. And sometimes, you know, you start to feel like, oh, maybe I just like the feeling, but actually I'm still dealing with all these issues. I wish I didn't have these issues. I'm going to go back to the thing that soothes me a little bit. Um, and if you start to if you begin that journey already with like this false narrative of I'm doing this thing because it helps me with this, it's going to become really, really hard to pry those two things apart. Um, so that's kind of my time for today. Those are my thoughts. It's cool that we got all this stuff, and it's cool that there's going to be research and stuff that's done, and maybe one day they're going to be controlled and prescribed as effective medications. However, I don't think I don't personally recommend that you go looking for them as like cures for your own experimentation, because there's better things out there, and like I said, if you're the kind of person that's just going to go, you just going to want to go play with things, then just, you know, go play with things. Don't pretend that you're doing something you're not. And if you're actually genuinely serious about recovery or changing your mindset, changing your habits, and all of those things, there's way easier things that you can choose than something that is maybe potentially illegal, seriously mind altering, all of that stuff. That's like, if you were going to be starting to implement those things, especially at a time when it's like unregulated and not as well researched and stuff, you'd want to be at like super expert level, top tier, hit a massive plateau in your ability to, I don't know, organize yourself, whatever you're trying to do. Um, there's so many other things that you could be trying, and that's where I think we're going to leave it today. Thank you for checking out this week's episode. As always, we'd appreciate if you'd like and follow or subscribe. If you have any questions, or if you're interested in workshops or one-to-one coaching from Gareth and James, send us a message on the Nerve Guys Instagram page. Finally, we'd really appreciate it if you'd check out the Neuroband, our very own product and the sponsor of this video. You'll find a link to the Neuroband in the description of this episode.